Hi guys, welcome to week 3 of Mirepoix. Last week we went a bit classic, this week we're going right back to Asia with some pretty funky flavours and some strong sort of dishes coming through. So before we start, I'm just going to quickly give about 5-10 minutes, just talk through what we've got, what's in the box and what sort of equipment you're going to want. So if you want to skip ahead straight to the cooking and the plating part, we'll put a little link at the bottom with a time so you can just go straight through. But yeah, so what's in the kit? Got everything on this chopping board here. So I'll go for it, starter, main, and then dessert. So in the starter, you should have 3 vat pack bags. So this one here with the kiwi balls. This is fragile, so just be careful with this. So this is kiwi, which are blitzed up, made a puree, and then set. The green ones, cucumber balls. The green liquid that they're in is the skins of the cucumber juice with a little bit of water and salt. It makes the cucumber itself really vibrant, the flesh really vibrant green. It's going to look nice on the plate. And the last bag, this is the dressing. It's a little bit of a weird consistency for dressing. It's because it's got a lot of coconut cream going through it, so it will set up in the fridge. So just make sure you take this one out a good 45 minutes before you start. And also with this, we're going to be using it twice. Once in the starter and then once in the main course. So don't go too heavy-handed on the starter, otherwise you might miss out on the main course. We've got 2 piping bags as well. The small one with cucumber gel. So like I was saying before, zero waste cooking. We ball up we take the balls of cucumber, the skins we juice, and then the flesh we make into this gel with a little bit of vinegar going through it. So that's going to cut through some of the sweetness on the dish. This is sort of the bad boy of the starter, the XO sauce. So XO, you've obviously seen XO cognac and stuff like that before. Originally comes from China, XO being top shelf. So it's a sauce that normally contains expensive things such as dried scallops, ham, and dried shrimp. In this sort of larger bag here, we've got prawn crackers. These are homemade prawn crackers that we're going to crumble up in a little bit and put on the dish. If you want to know how to make them, just DM me or just drop me a message and we can run through that. Then you've got these 2 little parcels. This one's cucumber ribbons, and this one's the pickled turnips. So that's everything for the starter. Onto the main course. Got a couple more vat pack bags. So this one's the gemsong sauce. So this is like a sour red curry style sauce, so obviously from Thailand. And then we've got the sambal. You can notice that you've got the chili at the top and then the coconut sort of mix at the bottom. I've done this 1 so you can control the spice, and 2, the chili tends to bleach into the coconut and then you end up with a red sort of sambal, so that nice white and green colour. Then you've got 1 more bag, so then here's the fish crackling. Dehydrated for 24 hours, marinated for 24 hours, dehydrated for 12 hours, and then deep fried. And then it goes back into the dehydrator again just to make sure it stays crisp, so when you get it, it's absolutely perfect. It's awesome stuff. I'll show you how to do that later as well. And then finally, you should have a piece of hake. So this is Cornish hake. It's just been skin taken off, so filleted and then skin off. Lastly, onto the dessert, you'll have 4 little bags and then a couple leaves of mint. So the mint we're going to cut up later, and it's going to go through the pickled beetroot. Couldn't cut it before because it would just absolutely die. And then this sort of pinky colour one, this is your beetroot mascarpone. So salt baked beetroots that were dehydrated after salt baking, blitzed up, turned into a powder, and then folded through the mascarpone. So you're going to get a nice level of sweetness and savoury saltiness coming through. Should have a hazelnut crumble. Hazelnut crumble, that's going to go on the side, and then a coffee syrup. So this is going to go in the middle of the dessert. Apart from that, you're going to need a few bits of equipment. 1 frying pan, preferably that can go in the oven. We're going to fry the fish off and we're going to finish it in the oven. If you only have a frying pan with, say, a rubber handle and it can't go in the oven, don't worry, we'll just put it onto a tray later. A couple trays. You'll need at least 2 throughout the whole menu. And then a few containers. I've got them in varying sizes. I'll talk about that as I'm plating up, but if you've only got 1 size, that's going to be fine. And if you don't have any containers, grab some mugs and stuff like that. Lastly, a chopping board and a knife. And then a few spoons and a fish slice or a burger flipper, something like that. We're also expecting you guys to have a few sort of house essentials. So a knob of butter, some good quality rapeseed oil, or a good quality oil, preferably not sunflower, preferably not olive oil, as that's going to have a lower flash point in the pan. It's going to start smoking. You're not going to be able to get it right to temperature. And then lastly, some good quality salt. Right, so before we get started on the starter, we're just going to preheat the oven so it's ready for our main course. We're going to want this quite hot. There's a few different ways to cook fish, and it also depends on the fish you're sort of cooking. We'll go into that in a bit more detail, but for this, I'm going to rack this right up to 200 degrees. And then we'll just give it ample time to heat up while we're eating the starter. Second thing we're going to do is we're going to make a bain-marie sort of style thing to heat up the XO sauce and the sour fish sauce. So I'm just going to half fill it with cold water, bring it to a simmer, and then turn it right down so it stays nice and warm. Okay, so I've just brought this water up to the simmer, and I've turned it right down. So it's on 2 out of 9 now. Bear in mind, everyone's hob's going to be different. If you're using gas, you want it super low. You want it hot enough so you can hold your finger in there for about a second. So you're aiming for about 65 degrees if you have a thermometer. So now that's the temperature. I'm going to drop my 2 sauces in. The Gemsong, that's for the main course. We're going to want that quite hot, and then the XO sauce for the starter. So the XO sauce for the starter, we don't want it hot. We just don't want it fridge cold. So we just really, it's probably going to be in there for about a minute, maximum maybe 2, just to take that chill off. It's going to make it easier to pipe, and it's going to make it more palatable on your salad. Alright, so now we've got the XO sauce and the Gemsong heating up. We're just going to get ready for the starter. So the first thing I'm going to do is going to get everything onto my tray so I can take it over to my plate, and then I'm not going dashing backwards and forwards. I say a lot that cooking's all about organisation, and it is the key to success. So first of all, I'm going to open up the cucumber balls. You can just get rid of the juice, or you can drink it if you like, or you can keep it for something else. That's absolutely fine. So I'm going to just cut a little hole, and then I've got a little bit of kitchen rolls to drain it off. Find the best way to cut bags that have liquid in. You hold it over the side of the chopping board. Just take a little corner off first, so then we can drain it, and then we'll take the rest off. And as ever, make sure you throw away tiny bits of plastic that have a tendency to fall into your food. So yeah, now most of that liquid's out. Just cut that out, put it straight in. Just spread them out slightly so they drain a lot better. Next, going to get the kiwi balls out. You won't need to put these onto paper. Just like I said before, they are fragile. You don't want to squash them. So just get them out like this. And then just like we did before, spread them out a little bit, as they would have got a little bit tucked together in the bag. Now my dressing, this is why I've got a small container. Obviously it's only a small amount of dressing, so there's no point putting this in a massive Tupperware because you won't be able to get any up. Like I was saying before, if you've forgotten to take it out of the fridge, just put it in your hands and give it a rub, or just pop it in your pocket for 5 to 10 minutes and it will come back together. So again, over the side, cut. And then I find the best way to get sauces out of that bag, create sort of a scissor motion with your fingers, put it at the bottom and push up. That'll make sure you get all of it out. Cool. Lastly, I'm going to get the ribbons and the turnips onto the tray as well. So with these, you should have 6 individual ribbons. Just place them on the tray, get rid of the parchment paper, and there should be a little sort of nugget of the pickled turnips. Now onto the prawn crackers. So I'm just going to pour these out onto the board just to show you what we did. So these are whole at this stage. What I'm going to do is I'm going to break them up into shards. I'm probably going to need about 3 shards per plate, maybe 4 or 5 maximum. But if you like them, obviously just go crazy. So there should be a few extra for you to try. And like I said, I'm just going to cut them into sort of pieces this size, nice and long, so we get a lot of height on the plate. Cool. Now onto the cucumber gel. So I've showed you in previous videos how to open these bags, but for the new customers we've got dining with us tonight, I'll just show you. So you've got it this way up, and you want to make sure it's all pushed down at the back, down to the bottom, put it on the board, push your finger there to stop it all coming out in one go, and then just snip the top off. And again, a little bit of plastic, make sure you get rid of that straight away. So cool, now we're pretty much ready to go. The only thing we're missing is the XO sauce. So like I was saying earlier, we don't want that to be piping hot. We just really want that to be sort of room temperature, ambient temperature. If it's too hot, it's going to tendency to sort of split out onto the plate, and we're not looking for that. So I'll go check it now, and we'll see. All right, so I've got my XO sauce up to temperature now. But before I open it and we start playing, I'm just going to get my cucumbers all ready. So there's two different things I'm going to do with the cucumbers. One is a cone. What do I mean by a cone? Literally just sort of making a cone. So on your thumb like this, pinch it, wrap it over your thumb, and then bring it back round, and you'll end up with something that looks a little bit like that. And at this point, if you want, you can tuck that flappy bit back down, or you can cut it off with a knife. What these are going to do, is going to be the perfect little place to put more cucumber gel or the XO sauce in later. So I'm going to make 2 of them, and I'm going to make 3 sort of ribbons. So with these, I'm just going to put it down on the chopping board and literally just roll it up into sort of a cylinder shape. And these will give you a different sort of look on the plate. So you end up with something just like that, rolled up nice and tight. So 4 of these, 2 cones. All right, so we're pretty much ready to go. I'm just going to take literally the top of the XO piping bag off now and straight into the bin. I'm going to get half of the cucumber balls in a little bit of that dressing. So you don't want too much of the dressing, it's super sour and it's quite creamy. So we're going to take half of them and I'm going to dress half of them. The reason for only doing half is so when it's on the plate and you're eating it, the flavour's constantly changing. It's a sign of a good dish. And like I say, you don't want to smother it in the sauce, just a teeny little bit like that in, and then give them a good mix around so they get nice and coated. Alright, so onto the actual plate itself. I'm going to put the XO sauce on the plate first. I don't know if you've seen the pictures, but I'm going to go for a sort of cluster around the side of the plate. So I'm going to go 1 large dollop in the middle, and then a couple smaller ones going out, and that's going to be the base of the crescent. It's going to hold everything down, like foundations as you were. So end up with something looking like that. At this point, take the heel of your wrist, just give it a couple knocks on the back of the plate, and that's going to push the puree down. It's going to give it a little bit more surface area to work with. Now onto the kiwi balls. On the large one, there should be 1 large one with a hole in it. I've left that so you can put a little bit more of the sauce straight in. So when you eat that one, you're going to get an explosion of XO sauce. I'm going to put that one straight on the plate as well. It's going to go just off center. Next, the large cucumber ball. And we're just going to start alternating at this point. And we can start building up the layer. So you're going to get the big ones on first, and then you're going to start filling in the gaps with the smaller stuff. One of the marinated ones on the other side. And one of the smaller or the medium marinated one on the opposite side again. So you see what I'm doing? I've got the marinated, kiwi, non-marinated, marinated. And you just slowly just keep building the cucumbers up. Getting the kiwis on. And just constantly aiming for a little crescent. And at this point you can start getting your smaller kiwi balls just stuck to the XO sauce on the bottom. Start putting some just at the end to give the tips of your sort of crescent a little bit more definition. A few more of the kiwis. Alright, so that's all the balls on. At this point now we're going to start building a little bit more height with the other things we've got. So I'm going to take my cucumber rolls first. I'm going to place them strategically in places where I think it's going to give a contrast of colour and height. I've gone for one right in the middle there, but like I always say, just get creative. There's no wrong way of plating. If you think it looks nice, then that's the only thing that really matters at the end of the day. Get a couple cones. Don't feel afraid as well not to use everything I've given you. I tend to give people more, so you have a little bit more to play with. Now I'm going to get the pickled turnips on. So again, another strong flavour. So just bear in mind that you don't want to overpower the rest of the dish with these. These are literally, I'm just going to pop them into little gaps where I think they look good. I'd have a tendency to try and cover up the XO sauce on the bottom. That just means that when you look at it, it looks like quite simple, but then when you eat it, it really takes off in your mouth. So I've gone for four different looks, four sort of different little piles, maybe 5 at the top there, just to make the present perfect. Lastly, on with the crackers. So this is really getting the height on the dish. Find places where they can almost just stand up by themselves. Yeah, so I've gone for 4 pieces, which has left me ample to eat. And the last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put this cucumber gel on. So, cucumbers, they're going to cool down the spice of their XO sauce. And again, I'm going to try and fill up some of the cones and maybe even some of the ribbons that have opened up slightly with the gel. Alright, cool. There you have it. Take a step back, look at it, make sure you're happy with it. Yeah, and then just dig in. So there we go. Kiwi, cucumber, XO, pickled turnips, homemade prawn crackers. Yeah, a quite pretty looking dish, but definitely packs a punch. I hope you guys enjoy it. Okay, so now I've had the starter, we're going to start on the main course. Like I've said in previous videos, the key to being a good chef is organisation. This is especially true when it comes to cooking fish. You find once you start cooking the fish, there's no return. You've got to get going. So with that in mind, I'm just going to set myself up over here first before we start cooking. So I'm going to get my fish onto trays, all my garnish ready, and the serving bowls ready as well. So the first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to get the fish out onto a separate tray. So I've got one ready with a bit of paper down. So this is for after the fish is cooked, and this is the one where the raw fish is going to go on. You don't want to get the two confused. And what we're going to be doing with this is we're going to be cooking the fish skin side down in the pan. So there's obviously no skin left on the fish, but there should be a bloodline on one side or darker meat. So I'm going to place that down. Reason for that is we're going to season that, turn it over, hit the pan, and then season the back when it's in the pan. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to get the sambal into the bowl so we can dress it. So just take the top off the bags out and just drop it in. Like always, just make sure you throw away the plastic straight away, so you don't want little bits of plastic getting in your food. With this, you're going to want to just give it a little fork to loosen up again. The coconut, when it's backed, has a tendency to clump. Obviously, we don't want that. We want everything to be evenly distributed. So that's ready. You've got your dressing, your leftover dressing from the starter. That's ready. We'll dress that in a minute when it goes into the oven. And then you've got the bag with your fish skins in. So I'm literally just going to take them out onto the same tray the cooked fish is on. So when it comes to it, everything's ready. Alright, cool. So now we're going to go over and we're going to start cooking that piece of fish. Okay, so I brought everything over that we need. You've got your fish slice, a spoon, your little knob of butter, your sea salt and your rapeseed oil. So while I wait for that pan to heat up, I'm just going to quickly talk about what we're going to be doing. So the fish, we're going to hit into the pan with the oil, skin side down, get a nice amount of colour on that. We're going to flip it, then we're going to add the butter, get the butter nice and foaming, and then it's going to go in the oven. So there's a lot going on, it's going to be very quick, but if we watch the video, try and do what I'm doing, I'm sure we'll be fine. Just a quick note, obviously we want this pan hot at this point. Different fish and different cuts of fish require different types of cooking. If you've got a skin on your fish, you don't want to start in a raging hot pan because you're going to tense that skin up and it's going to bow and you're not going to get it nice and crispy. But because this is taken off and I want the flesh, which is high in moisture, to get a crisp on it, we need that high heat so it gets that straight in there. So now you can see this pan's getting nice and warm. I'm going to drop the oil in. Again, like I said in previous videos, you can tell when the oil's hot because it starts to play by itself. It starts moving around the pan by itself. You tend to find it, you pour it in the middle, you look away, you come back, it's gone to the side. So just a couple more seconds on this pan. Again, I'm on 8 out of 9, so almost the hottest. Fine, if you go 9 on induction, it tends to be way too much. At this point, I'm going to season the fish. You don't want to go too heavy, just a nice little bit on the top there. You can see the oil starting to move by itself. It's getting warm. Now we're going to put this fish in. I'm going to use my hand once it goes in to make sure it's flat. It's going to spit a little bit, so if you feel like that's going to hurt, you can use the back of your palette knife or your burger flipper or a couple spoons. So in, move it around a little bit, and then down. And you can just see I'm just holding it flat. I'm not pushing it. You don't want to push any meat. You push it down, you're pushing the liquid out, it's going to make the fish dry. So I'm just holding it to make sure it gets an even contact with the pan. At this point, it's not going to start bowing. I'm going to season the back of the fish. Again, not too much. Obviously everything else in the dish is seasoned already. With your fish slice, just keep wiggling it around, getting underneath one corner and pushing it up. This allows the oil to get from the sides into the middle. I don't know if you've ever seen a steak and you've got just colour around the outside, or a piece of fish with just colour around the outside. That's because the oil hasn't got into the middle of the fish. Literally 30 more seconds and we're flipping. You've got a nice caramelisation there, not too much, but that's absolutely what we want. At this point, we hit it with your butter. Now the butter is going to bring the temperature down of the pan. Keep it foaming. Baste a few times. And then into the hot oven. And that's it. This fish is not going to take long at all. It's quite a thin cut of hake. So I'm literally 1 minute. I'm going to put on a timer for 1 minute. And they're going to rest it for 2. Okay, so that 1 minute's gone off. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to turn the oven off. I'm going to open the door just a little bit. And this is going to allow us to rest the fish. Obviously resting of meat, everyone does it. Not a lot of places rest your fish. There's absolutely no reason why you shouldn't rest a fish. When the muscle fibres go into the oven, they are going to tense up. And if you serve that straight away, it's going to be tighter. You need to let that relax. So just going to rest in there for 2 minutes when we start plating. So I've got my bowl. Got my salad, I've got my dressing. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to take a little bit, just a little pinch of the salad out, because I'm going to use that on top and I don't want that to be dressed. The rest of it, I'm going to add some of the dressing. Just remember that this dressing is quite strong and you can always add, but you can't remove. So just keep mixing it in and just find a balance that you're happy with. This is going to be quite acidic, but then the sauce is quite rich and spicy, so you need the acidity to cut through both the fish and the sauce. I'm happy with that. The idea with the plate in this, we're going to get the sambal in the middle, the fish is going to sit on top, the skin on top of that, and then a little bit of the garnish that we just saved. So just evenly distribute the sambal across the however many plates you're doing. Try to make sure you've got an even amount of mint and coriander in each one. And just remember that the fish needs to sit on it, so don't just make a massive pyramid with a spike on top, because your fish will fall off. I'm going to get the fish out of the oven. Just bear in mind that that pan, the handle, is going to be very hot, so make sure you have a cloth. Pop it down, heat-proof mat. Right, so straight away, just dry off a little bit of the excess butter on there and pop it in the middle. At this point, a little bit of that garnish, and then I'm going to go with my crispy fish skin or my fish crackling. I like to break it up a little bit, so I'm going to take this larger piece, I'm just going to break it into little shards. And remember, the key with plating is height. So if you've got a little bit left over, you don't want to overcrowd it. There's a lot of places you put too much food on the plate, it's not going to look good. So if you've got left over, just eat it straight off the bat, it's fine. Alright, so I've just poured the gangsum sauce into a serving jug. I quite like the idea of taking it across almost like a gravy and then just pouring it on. Just give it a little stir. It's obviously very natural for the coconut milk to split out a little bit. Shouldn't do it too much, but just give it a little stir. And there you have it. Coconut and bean sprout sambal, roasted hake, crispy hake skin, and then again gangsum sauce. Alright, cool. So on to the dessert. First thing I'm going to do is just going to get everything out of the bags. So I've got an array of different containers, 2 small ones, 1 medium and then 1 large. I'm going to take out the hazelnut crumble first. So simply just cut the top off. Make sure you have a little bin next to you. I'm going to pop that in the medium sized container. The beetroot salsa, so again, because it's got a little bit of liquid, just hold it over the edge of your board, cut the top off, and that's going to go in one of the small ones. Do make sure you get all of that one out, it has a tendency to stick to the sides. Ooh. The coffee syrup, so again, like I said, I'm just going to take a little corner off this time, so it doesn't just start spraying as soon as I cut it. And that's going to go in my final small one. If you don't have this many containers, you could potentially just keep this one in the bag and pour straight onto the dish. I personally like to use a spoon, it gives you a little bit more control, but it's up to you. And then onto the beetroot mascarpone. So just push an edge down, so you've got somewhere to cut and you're not going to waste too much. Cut the top off, again in the bin. And then, just like we did before, pushing it all out. Cool. Alright, so before we start, I'm just going to finish off the salsa. So like I said, they gave you a couple mint leaves. We're just going to chiffonade them. Mint is a bit like basil in a sense, where it's one of those herbs you start cutting, it's going to bruise instantly. So if you don't want to cut it, well, you could use scissors, but if you don't want to use your knife, you can just tear it. If not, roll it up into a little cigar. So if you're ever cutting super soft herbs, like basil and mint, roll into cigar, and then you can just chiffonade straight through. So we're just going nice and fine, so you get a sort of even distribution. But like I said, if you don't feel like you have to cut it, you can just rip it up. It's more of a flavour thing, more than anything. So when that's in there, we'll just give that a nice little stir. Again, just respect the mint, don't want to smash it around because it will bruise quite easily. Right, so the key to getting this right is I've got a pot of water with my spoons in, and this is hot water. The hot water is going to heat up the spoons, and it's going to make the mascarpone come off the spoon a lot easier when it hits the plate. So I'm going to take the largest spoon I have, sort of a dessert spoon or a soup spoon or I don't know, whatever massive spoon you have at home. And I'm going to sort of rocher the mascarpone. Okay, so the key with the rocher, hot spoon, use the side of the container to help, and just try and do it in one flow motion. I'm going to go in, I'm going to drag down, I'm going to try and get something that looks like the spoon. And you want to pop that straight into the middle of your plate, like that. So you end up with a sort of thing that looks a little bit like that. And dip your spoon back in the hot water for a few seconds, because now we're going to create that well. We're going to push down into the middle, and that's where the espresso syrup's going to sit. So you want this nice and hot again. Finger on the back, make sure it's not wet. Straight down, not all the way down to about there, and then flip. You end up with something that looks a little bit like that. If you've got a little bit left over, feel free to put that on if you don't want to waste it, or just eat it straight off the bat. Up to you. The next thing I'm going to hit on there is the beetroot salsa. So because I'm going to put that on the side, I'm just going to flatten that edge off a little bit. It's going to give me a little bit more leeway for it to sit. So the back of the warm the back of the warm spoon, just level it off just a little bit. And then you just want to start putting little bits on at a time, slowly building it up. Just try not to get too much of the liquid on there, because that will run into the centre and it will sort of clash with the espresso syrup. So again, I'm just putting on 1/2 of the beetroot mascarpone. But like I always say, yeah, feel free to go crazy, do what you want. Next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to put the hazelnut crumb on the side of the plate. So that's going to go on this side of the plate, just so I get sort of a half clean side and half dirty side. So with this, just make sure you've got a dry spoon, otherwise the crumb is just going to stick straight to it. Ooh, dropped a little bit in the middle there. But like I said as well, just really get creative, send us your pictures. Yeah, we can have a little competition. Just picking out the bit I dropped in. Cool. Now, finally, the espresso syrup. So I'm just going to take my spoon, I'm going to pour it on, straight on. So straight onto the spoon. You don't need too much of this, and then just into the well in the middle. Coffee is one of my favourite things, so I'm going to put quite a lot on, but if you don't like it, don't go crazy. And there we have it. Beetroot mascarpone, beetroot salsa, and hazelnut crumble. We really hope you've enjoyed this week. If you have, let us know. If you haven't, let us know. Hopefully see you soon. And like always, post your photos and we'll have a look. Enjoy. Thank you.